The only resource I had was the public library, and they did not deal with transgender or gay and lesbian issues. So the only support, the only resources I had growing up in Florence was watching Jerry Springer on TV to see if he would have a transgender person on it. So I understand what it's like to try to deal with all this. For millennia, we were considered the shamans, the teachers, the healers. And of course, white European Christianity sent us into the shadows. As it gained dominance, people forgot about us. Whether they know a trans person or not, they don't know how many they pass on the street. They don't know whether they are working alongside a trans person.
They don't want to know.
We're out there, we're in every profession. We're teachers, we're lawyers, we're police officers, we're doctors. If you name a profession, there's transgender people there. Decided that we were easy targets and they came after us, and all of a sudden we were thrown out there in front of the whole world. So we're at the forefront of people's minds now. Every state's wanting to do something to affect transgender people negatively. They want to limit how we go to the bathroom. They want to keep us out of schools. They want to fire us from the military. It's our turn and our time to use this to our advantage. We need to get the correct information out there. We need to shed our image and shed our shadows. And if you can do that safely, I would hope that you're out there doing that. But do not ever put your life at risk by coming out where you think there may be problems. Use your common sense. But it's important for us, the ones of us who can, to start putting the correct information out there. We're not mentally ill people. We're not freaks. We're not out there trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. We're trying to find our place in this world and to do our jobs that we're hired to do. We're trying to raise our families. We're trying to go to school. We're trying to become productive members of society. There's a lot of false information being thrown out about transgender people. And of course, the last 2 weeks, thanks to he who shall remain nameless, they have thrown the military into the mix. And that's where all the information is coming from, and it affects y'all. Even if you have never been in the military, even if you are not in the military, you are taking the brunt of it, because they are using the same false information that they're using against the military, they're using against you. Transgender people, they're mentally ill. They have such a high suicide rate. They shouldn't have insurance because the cost of caring for them is so high. All we can do is keep putting the correct information out there. If we change one person's mind by giving the correct information, that's better than hiding in the shadows again. And I want to say one thing. There's no way in the world we can go back into the shadows, people. We're out there. People knows we're there now. And they are not going to let us go quietly back into the shadows. We're out here, so we might as well make the best of it. And we do that by showing these people that their perceptions of us are wrong. You know, it doesn't have to be in-your-face stuff. When I retired 3 years ago, I went home. I was a game warden in a rural county for 25 years. Of course, over those 25 years, people had talked about me. They had spread the rumors about me, but no one had ever confronted me with their suspicions. When I retired, I went to work that last day to our office, had my retirement ceremony. I went home. I took off my uniform, which was the last bit of clothing I owned that could be considered male clothing. I took off that uniform. I threw it in the garbage. The next day, I walked out of my house looking like this. Woo! No one batted an eye. And they haven't since then. I'm not out there trying to be in your face on stuff. I live a quiet life in a county full of rednecks with guns. But I'm used to these people, and they're used to me, so it works out for everybody. But it's important also, if you are able to, get out in the public, make an impression with people you don't know. 3 years ago, I never would have come to something like this. Not because I was scared or because I didn't want to be seen with y'all. I wouldn't have come because I was not a social person. 3 years ago, I could not have walked among you because there's just too many people here. I would have lasted 10 minutes and I would have been running for my car. It gets easier though. You start getting out and talking to people, meeting people, and you find out that you have a lot more allies, a lot more people who are willing to listen to you. They just don't know any better. It's up to us to teach them. No one else is going to. So I encourage you, if you can, safely, get out, get amongst the people, do things, challenge yourself, challenge people. If you hear someone speaking wrong, say, you're not right about this. Would you be willing to listen to the facts? I'm not a polite person most of the time. I don't claim to be. But I try to be as polite as I can when speaking with people. It's all in how you approach them, because they are going to be on the defensive as soon as you start coming towards them. We are monsters to most people until they get to know us. And they're not going to know us if we don't get out there, if we don't meet people, if we don't get out there and just show people how normal we are. Go to the First Fridays, enjoy walking down the streets, enjoy the sights. Go to the festivals. Be out in public. But do it respectfully. That's where you win the most hearts and minds. You have to excuse me here. try not to keep y'all out here much longer. A few years ago, we elected the first black man to be president of the United States. No one knew what we were getting into. We didn't know how he was going to affect our lives as LGBT people. Yes, at first, it didn't seem like he was going to be much of an ally. He took the time to get to know us. He took the time to learn the facts. And by the end of his 8 years, he was the best friend we've ever had in politics. He was certainly the one person who had the greatest impact in transgender rights that has ever been. He did more for transgender people than anyone ever had before him. He started giving us rights that everyone else had. He started treating us like people. For the first time in our lives, we were citizens of the United States, just like everybody else. And then last year happened. We're under attack again. Everything that's been given to us is being taken away from us. We don't have any choice, people. We can't go back into the shadows because they're not there. It's our turn to stand up. To stand shoulder to shoulder with the LGBT community. They've carried us this long. They've held our hands. It's our turn to show them they didn't do this in vain. One last thing. I was online last night and I saw a photograph of a sign that had a quote on it. I don't know the author of the quote. I wish I did. But it struck a nerve with me. The quote was, "She needed a hero, so she became one." We need the hero, and there's no one else left to be our hero but us. It's our turn. So let's get out there and show them that we're not going to be beaten. We're not going to go backwards. We're here to stay. And that's not just the trans community, that's the LGBT community. That's the black community, that's the women, that's the Hispanics, that's everyone. We're all in this together. Quit waiting for somebody else to save you. Be the hero. Thank y'all for your time. Y'all enjoy everything. I'm proud.